and I'm going to double down on it. He's a younger LeBron James, minus the athleticism offensively. When you talk about a guy 6'7", 6'8", big frame, 240, 250.
The next generation. And for me, by me playing the game the right way, always getting my teammates involved and playing for the purity of the game, I was able to inspire a kid that wasn't even in America.
For most people would be Giannis Antetokounmpo, who's a superstar and a champion who never cheats us with his effort on both ends of the floor. But for me, I'm going to throw the name Luka Doncic out there.
As we get further and further into the current NBA season, I'm just floored at being a witness to what Luka Doncic has been doing since his entrance into the league in 2018. Many say he has the best case of filling LeBron's gigantic shoes once he retires from the league, but the future isn't the focus of today's video, for the most part. What I do want to talk about today is taking a closer look at the first 5 years of Luka Doncic's and LeBron James's career to see how truly similar they are, and if so, does their current career project out to a similar path? Don't forget to like and subscribe, but let's not waste any time and dive right into this. LeBron James, undisputed top 2 player of all time, 4-time NBA champ, 4-time Finals MVP, 4-time MVP, 18 times All-NBA, member of the 75th anniversary team. I could go on and on, but we would legit be here all day and maybe tomorrow. On the other side, you got Luka Doncic, a guy who's had the case for the Basketball Hall of Fame before he ever set foot on an NBA court. He's a 3-time All-Star, 3-time All-NBA first team, and the 2019 Rookie of the Year. These two guys epitomize the term generational prospects, and while we've seen LeBron reach and exceed every expectation set before him, Luka still has mountains to summit in the NBA world before his legacy is cemented before the NBA players, fans, and media. Luka has had a number of player comps thus far into his tenure in the league, some of the most prominent being James Harden, Larry Bird, and a few more. However, I really want to hone in on this LeBron comparison, because I especially see similarities in not only their games, but how their respective franchises handled their addition to the team. Let's be real, the current Dallas Mavericks offense is completely and utterly Luka dependent, just as those old Cavalier teams were with a young LeBron James at the helm. In both cases, I don't believe it's malice or even negligence resulting in the offense becoming so dependent on their superstar player. It's just that offensive juggernauts like LeBron and Luka can be so overwhelming that it's almost inevitable that a team will defer to their best offensive player when he's performing at such a high caliber. We know what comes of too much dependence heaped upon a superstar player without the addition of the proper help. If you need me to spell it out directly, more likely than not, there will come a day where Luka will not have what it takes to single-handedly win a ball game based on his superior offensive output. And when that happens, fans, media, and even some prominent figures from inside the franchise will contribute to the narrative that this so-called superstar just might not have what it takes. We saw it with LeBron, albeit not in his first 5 years, but eventually the city of Cleveland turned on him, as well as his own front office and even some teammates. Not saying Luka is destined for the same fate, but it would be interesting to discover if he's walking a similar path through his first 5 years. Let's remember, LeBron made it to his finals his first time in his 4th year. He may have gotten swept, but to reach the big stage so early is a feat not often replicated, not even by a player as talented as Luka. Let's go back to the rookie showcases for both Luka and LeBron to begin our player comparison. In LeBron's first taste of NBA action, he led his lesser-known cast of teammates to a 35-47 record over the course of his rookie season, an 18-win increase from their previous season's total. Bringing the ridiculed Cavs from tied for their worst record in the league to narrowly missing the playoffs within the 9th seed is an achievement in and of itself. But doing it on 21-6-6 plus a steal or two a game put the league on notice that LeBron James was prepared to make his way atop the NBA hierarchy. Luka's entry into the league was about as unique as LeBron's journey, as neither of them played college ball and both were extremely high touted prospects. Albeit, scouts weren't as sold on Luka as they were on LeBron, But regardless, Luka's resume having a 5-year deal signed to Real Madrid's basketball team at the baby age of 13 was just incomprehensible as a basketball fan in the United States. Luka finished up his first year with averages of 21, 8, and 6, and a steal a game. Sound familiar? Anyways, Luka led the Mavs to a 33-49 record to finish 14th in the Western Conference. If you're keeping track, that's just 2 wins less than LeBron was able to manage during his rookie showing. While LeBron had the advantage on Luka when it came to their win-loss records in their first year, Luka edged out LeBron in many important statistical categories like points, field goal percentage, three-point percentage, and several advanced statistics. LeBron had him beat in free throw percentage and averaged more steals though. Both of them became members of the 25-5 club as rookies, a feat only achieved by Michael Jordan, Oscar Robertson, and Tyreke Evans, who I talked about a little more in detail a couple of videos ago about the Kings, which you should really check out. Anyways, outside of Evans, the point is this stat line is a barometer for being on the path towards greatness for NBA rookies. Their shooting splits are where they differ the most, although consideration should be given for the shooting revolution that's happened within the NBA in the recent decade. Luka boasted 43.5% from the field and 37.3% from behind the arc, as LeBron had percentages of 41.7 and 29 from the field and 3-point, respectively. Luka finished his rookie season 3rd overall in all-time rookie plus-minus, and LeBron ranks 7th on that list as of today. Taking a step back from the numbers, the narratives surrounding the two were largely similar, although having a few distinct differences. Both were made to be basketball messiahs, whether it was from LeBron's decision to get tatted the chosen one across his back, or having his high school games nationally televised, or Luka winning MVPs in FIBA while not even a fully grown adult yet. The point is, neither player really outright dominated their rookie class. Melo and D-Wade in Bron's class, and Trae Young and DeAndre Ayton both have impressive showings in their rookie years as well, but each player's rookie season acted as a monumental stepping stone that has thrusted them into superstardom in the years thereafter. That lays our stage fairly effectively. Now let's take a closer look at years 2 through 4 in both of these generational stars' careers, where we'll discover the bulk of our comparison. Heading into their respective sophomore showcases, longtime NBA fans may have expected them to go through a familiar phrase of a quote-unquote sophomore slump. But for these guys, they only got better, and quickly. LeBron averaged 27, 7, and 7 in 80 games. His second year, funnily enough, another inside joke type thing longtime NBA fans will recognize. For Luka, he averaged an amazing 29, 9, and 9 in 61 starts his sophomore year. These guys' supporting cast will start coming into play more and more now that continuously steeper expectations are placed upon them at an exponential pace. For Luka, his second star was a post-All-Star version of Kristaps Porzingis, unicorn no longer, but was still good for his inconsistent scoring outbursts and occasional rim protection every now and then, and guys like Tim Hardaway, Dorian Finney-Smith, and Dwight Powell. LeBron had a stout surrounding cast, filled with the likes of Zydrunas Ilgauskas, Eric Snow, Drew Gooden, and Jeff McInnes. Admittedly, I wasn't watching the NBA closely while I was 2 years old, so I didn't catch much of the true talent around LeBron at the time, and I love the Big Z. But I'd give the edge to Luka in this regard, although Luka's team was nothing really to write home about either. If you're curious though, the 19-20 Mavs comparatively ranked 4th in points per game to the 04-05 Cavs 17th, 12th in assists per game to the Cavs 6th, 4th in rebounds per game to the Cavs 14th, and Mavs turnovers ranked 13th to the Cavs 1st. Make of those stats what you will. Even with their roster disparities and coaching depending on how you feel about Rick Carlisle or Paul Silas, the records are somewhat similar with 43-32 for Luka's Mavs and 42-40 for LeBron's Cavs, which to me is a credit to LeBron's greatness. Although that one game win difference was enough to edge Luka into the playoffs, a feat that was not matched by LeBron's sophomore outing. This was hugely advantageous for Luka's legacy, even with it being a soon-to-be first-round exit, solely because of the game winner he had in Game 4 versus Kawhi and the Clippers. Even so, Luka was defeated in 6 games as he posted an impressive 31-10-9, with a plus minus of -38 if you care about those things. So by now, hopefully you see where I'm coming from comparing these two great players. Not only were they great, but they were great from the instant they entered the NBA, a rare feat for any professional player, even the best ones. So far, neither LeBron or Luka has really jumped out as a frontrunner for the best player through their first 5 years. It'll be interesting to see if this trend continues or not, because as we know, LeBron won the bulk of his rings and all that fun stuff in the latter half of his career, not in the first 5 years. So let's go check it out. Their third years would see LeBron take a larger leap than Luka to kind of shake up the current trend of their careers, in my opinion. Many don't know this, but LeBron actually averaged his highest points per game in his third year, with an amazing 31.4, paired with 7 rebounds and 7 assists. He played in 79 of 82 games, made his second All-Star game, and came second in MVP voting to Steve Nash, which likely remains a travesty to this day. Luka averaged 28, 9, and 8 in 66 games played and also made his second All-Star game, although his sophomore year had a better case for MVP than his third year, unlike LeBron. Specifically, he finished 4th in voting his sophomore year and 6th in his junior, while LeBron finished 6th in his sophomore year but 2nd in his junior. Team success for Luka remained strangely the same, with 42 and 30 in the shortened season putting him and the Mavs in the 5th seed in the Western Conference. At this point, the Mavs had added key pieces like Jalen Brunson and Josh Green, as well as dampening their expectations for Porzingis' production night to night. Even so, the Mavs again fell to the Clippers in 7 after taking a commanding 2-0 lead. Kawhi's cyborg bag was in full effect this series. As for LeBron, the Cavs took a massive step up thanks to LeBron's improvement and maybe a splash from rookie Anderson Varejao to finish with a 50 and 32 record. Led by current Kings coach Mike Brown, also mentioned extensively in that Kings video I referenced earlier, check it out please. The Cavs defeated the Wizards in the first round with LeBron averaging a jaw-dropping 36, 8, and 6 in the 6-game bout. I can only imagine the terror he filled in Wizards fans' heart as he poured in 45 points and 7 boards and 6 assists in Game 5 of that series. As he poured in 45 points with 7 boards and 6 assists in Game 5 of the series. Celebration was short-lived, however, as the King fell to the Detroit Pistons in 7 games in the following round, while putting up an impressive 27, 9, and 6 stat line. Even with the amazing numbers LeBron was putting up in his third year, LeBron's reputation took quite a hit as the media filled the so far unquenchable thirst to find something to worsen his image, which finally showed up as the Cavs lost a 3-2 lead on the Pistons, and in that final game, LeBron was -16 as the team lost 79-61. Of course, no one was considering the fact that the Cavs wouldn't have even sniffed the playoffs if not for LeBron, but that's the media for you. As you know, the fourth year comes with an even wider gap between the two as far as team success, but as you look closer, you may find yourself rationalizing the comparison more than you'd imagine. Starting with LeBron this time, his fourth year saw a slight decrease in counting stats with an average of 27, 7, and 6 in 78 games played, although it was clear this wasn't due to a decline of play. LeBron, fueled by media-driven hate towards him for his gutting second-round loss the previous year, followed his previous season up with the same win-loss record of 50 and 32 and led his team past the Wizards again, then in a defeat over the New Jersey Nets in round 2, to finally be afforded the opportunity at revenge over the Pistons in the Eastern Conference Finals. The series started rough for James, who only put up 10 and 19 points respectively in his first 2 games of the conference final matchup. Thankfully, his numbers went back to normal as the series progressed, including an explosion in Game 6 as LeBron put up 48, 9, and 7, effectively slamming close the Pistons' championship window. As the Cavs wrapped up the Pistons in the following game, it was official. LeBron had reached his first NBA Finals bout in just his 4th year. Only problem? It was against the dynasty known as Greg Popovich and Tim Duncan's San Antonio Spurs. Yet another year bore witness to LeBron accomplishing unimaginable feats, only to be remembered for how it sourly ended. In this case, a sweep at the hands of those very Spurs. Save the sorrow for the moment because now it's time to figure out what Luka's 4th year held for the young superstar, which was pretty recent, so you'll likely have a better idea of it. Luka played in 65 games his 4th year, or 2021 to 22, and was selected to his 3rd All-Star game, matching LeBron's total All-Star selections in his 4th year as well, forgot to mention that, as he averaged 28, 9, and 9. The Mavs, now led by Jason Kidd and having cut ties with Porzingis, finished with an improved 52-30 record to finish 4th in the Western Conference. After making handiwork of the Utah Jazz in the first round, the real shocker came in the form of the Mavs matchup versus the 1-seeded Suns in the second round. With the Suns shooting out to a 2-0 lead, many had the Mavs written off, Devin Booker and the Suns included. However, this was the single most perfect opportunity placed before Luka yet to do the unthinkably unachievable, a trait common to those players that can define a generation. His most impressive outing arguably came in Game 7, no less, as the Mavs blew the Suns off the floor behind a 35-10-4 outing that led the Mavs to a 123-90 victory. And the score didn't come close to showing how badly the Suns were embarrassed in that Game 7. It's easy to forget as we watch the Suns find regular season success yet again, but that was burned into my memory for one. After an exhausting semifinals, it's likely the Mavs allowed themselves to feel some sense of complacency. Because of that, they likely weren't prepared for the juggernaut that was the Stephen Curry-led Warriors last year. Even with the average of 32, 9, and 6, it wasn't enough to prevent the 5-game series loss for Luka's Mavs. It's interesting to think about if Luka was given more credit for defeating the finals favorite Suns and losing in the Western Conference Finals than LeBron did for reaching the finals and getting swept in the same amount of time. I'll let you reach your own conclusion on the matter, but it's definitely an interesting thought experiment. Anyways, that wraps up the happenings between these two future Hall of Famers in the bulk of their early careers, specifically years 2 through 4. Before we get to what this all means, let's take a closer look at this year, how it projects out for Luka, and how it compares to LeBron's 5th year. Year 5 seems to be the year where a player's game is defined. I think once you're reaching that 6-year mark, you're off your rookie deal, you become somewhat of a known commodity. There may be an ample amount of things you're still expected to achieve depending on your status, but at this point, the fans and the media have attributed a certain value on you as a player, and likely no matter what, you'll be fighting against whatever narrative has been spun up by your 5th season for the rest of your career. Let's look at LeBron first, since his 5th year is of course already completed, so we'll be able to analyze it in its entirety. In 75 games, LeBron averaged 38 and 7 in his 5th year and became a 4-time All-Star, leading his team to a slightly lesser record than the previous year with 45 wins and 37 losses. Coming off a souring sweep at the hands of the Spurs last year, James was hungry to return to the big stage, something he'd become adept at during the latter half of his career, which the 2007-8 season did not fall under. Now armed with the talent along the likes of Larry Hughes, Shannon Brown, Ben Wallace, and the twin towers of Varejao and Ilgauskas, that was kind of sarcasm by the way, LeBron, for the 3rd time consecutively, easily put down the Wizards in 6. It would be then he would visit the new juggernaut of the Eastern Conference, the first super team, armed with the likes of Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce, Ray Allen, Rajon Rondo. Yeah, I'm talking about the Boston Celtics. Of the entire NBA playoffs, the Celtics has the rebounding plus win share leader in Kevin Garnett, assist leader with Rajon Rondo, and the soon-to-be finals MVP in the truth, better known as Paul Pierce. There's no doubt in my mind that LeBron's Cavs were nowhere near ready for the offensive and defensive prowess the Celtics possessed, as the Irish upset them in the first 2 matchups to jump out to a commanding 2-0 lead. This is LeBron we're talking about here though, so you know he was going to respond eventually. He'd been coasting with 3 21-point outings in his first 4 games. Even still, it was enough to tie the series 2-2, heading back to Boston for Game 5. And even though LeBron exploded for 35, it still wasn't enough to put down Boston, and they beat the Cavs by 7 points in a pivotal Game 5 victory. Even with LeBron's impressive performance of 32, 12, and 6 in a Game 6 win to tie the series, it wasn't enough to prevent their defeat at the hands of the eventual champion Boston Celtics. LeBron led all scorers with 26.7 points per game, as well as tacking on 8 assists and 6 rebounds per game in the series. You know how this story goes by now though. LeBron completes monumental feats, almost unprecedented in the NBA, but because he loses his final game, his reputation is soured across households and medium forums worldwide. It is truly the curse of greatness and will be something Luka will have to confront soon, one way or another. So far, the second coming of Larry Bird has gotten narrowly by on his wittiness and marketability so that he doesn't have to answer for his lack of playoff success thus far. But if results don't come likely in this very season, he could face the same scrutiny LeBron was subjected to so often in his earlier years. Enough of the doom and gloom projecting though, no sense in making conclusions on something that has yet to happen. Let's talk about what has happened in Luka's Year 5 showcase. Starting with the positives, how about an average of 34 points, 9 rebounds, and 9 assists? Granted, this is over his 20 games played, in which the Mavs are 10-10, if you were wondering what the negative part I was referencing earlier was. I'm not saying his production so far this year is sustainable, but I think it brings about a more important observation I had when comparing Year 5 Luka to Year 5 LeBron. A key narrative in the Cavs' handling of LeBron James, the basketball player, in 2007 to 2008 was that they were failing to put enough talent around him to win the championship, especially as the super team era was being ushered in by Boston. LeBron's supporters were highly critical of the decisions made by the front office since LeBron's arrival. Take a look at his roster when he lost that first matchup versus the Celtics, and this was just a year removed from the team LeBron carried to the finals, albeit just to get swept. Now, take a look at LeBron's roster when he lost to Boston the following year, and people wonder why he took his talents to South Beach. At this point, the Cleveland Cavaliers, in the media, on the court, and inside the locker room, were so overwhelmingly dependent on LeBron that there was no chance for growth to be had. This is partly done out of admiration of a player. A franchise will think so highly of their superstar that complacency will begin to creep in, as putting together a pristine roster becomes less and less necessary while the star player continues to ascend. On the other side of this though, it is born out of a gross negligence to improve your roster and, quite frankly, to do your job. That goes for the front office, but even in coaching. We saw a case of this just these past few years as Steve Nash failed to properly prepare the Nets because he believed in KD and Kyrie's ability too much. I believe we are seeing a formula starting to materialize in Luka's 5th year stint with the Mavericks. After the controversial loss of Jalen Brunson this past offseason, questionable rotations being put in by Kidd, and a complete reliance on Luka on the offensive side of the ball, it's becoming clearer and clearer to me that Dallas is setting Luka up for an impossible task that he will inevitably fail and will likely be blamed for. But the point is, the Mavs offense has become entirely Luka-centric, reminiscent of Harden during his latter stage Rocket years. Shoot, maybe a Harden comparison video would be more appropriate if no changes are made to this team's game plan in the years to come. In any professional team sport you'll find here in America, it will take a complete and almost flawless execution from a franchise top to bottom to really contend for a championship, even with the generational player. From the draft room to coaching, player health, team chemistry, overall talent, facilities, analytics department, development team, I mean, so much goes into it. So when you see a franchise start to depend on their superstar so heavily, it can appear so bliss at first. When your favorite player has been given the total reins of the franchise and is putting up nightly 30-piece triple-doubles. However, the facade will come to a head eventually, and when it does, when Luka runs into that defender that can just take his lunch, or when he goes through that bad shooting slump at the most inopportune time, they'll have nowhere to turn, even if Christian Wood continues to have his inconsistent great games. And what happens then? Well, Luka will be faced with the choice: walk the road of loyalty, and he will be tested on how much of a GOAT case he truly has. And if he actually is that generational, he will still find the individual and team success regardless of his situation. But if he's not, he walks the same road LeBron was faced with during his 2009-10 free agency decision. Sure, the reason LeBron left also had a lot to do with the team's treatment of him, something Luka has not had to worry about so far in any capacity. It certainly will be interesting to see not only how the Mavs handle their superstar over the course of this year and the next, but also seeing how Luka performs and reacts to his franchise's vital decisions in regard to putting him and the Mavs in the best position to win heading into the future. So, for the past 4,000 words or so, I've been shoving information into your eyes left and right about these two fantastic Hall of Fame caliber players. But believe it or not, there is a purpose to all this, and no, it isn't simply to tell you about the first 5 years of LeBron and Luka's careers. It instead is to more so distinguish who has had the more prolific start to their career and will allow us to somewhat rank Luka's trajectory of his career as he begins his rookie extension. I'll be comparing the two players in 3 categories: individual performance, accolades, and team success. You've probably noticed I haven't been going in much detail in awards aside from all-star appearances. Well, that's because we're going to tackle the bulk of them here. Without further ado, let's start our comparison with LeBron on this one so we can lay that groundwork. Starting with stats, LeBron averaged 27, 7, and 7, his magic number, during his first 5 seasons in the league. A total of 391 games, a remarkable display of durability. In that time, he was a Rookie of the Year in 2004, 4-time All-Star and All-Star Game MVP in 2006, member of the All-NBA First Team in 2006 and 2008, All-NBA Second Team in 2005 and 2007, and a scoring champ in 2008. He tacked on some more impressive awards, most notably an MVP, 1 year later in his 6th season, but we're not quite there yet, so let's disregard that fact for now. Finally, how was LeBron's team success through his first 5 years? Well, taking the fact that it was only his first 5 years, I'd say remarkably well. In LeBron's entry 5 years in the league, he made it to the postseason 3 times, each time advancing past the first round and reached the finals once. Is it the start that Magic Johnson had? No. But still, in my opinion, a fantastic start to a career, even in terms of winning, especially considering how much of the burden to win was placed upon his shoulders. So, for LeBron, he represents the gold status an NBA player can achieve in terms of performance, winning, marketability, and more. It may not be perfect, but we are living in reality now, aren't we? On to the other half of this comp. Luka Doncic has been on a tear of his own through his first half decade in the league too. Starting with individual performance, Luka has averaged 27, 9, and 8 throughout his tenure in the league, which comes out to 284 games, a far cry from LeBron's 391, but he still got most of the season to go, so it's pretty great nonetheless. As for accolades, we could point to the Slovenians EuroLeague Championship and MVP in 2018, but in this case, that's a no-go. Instead, we'll point to Doncic's Rookie of the Year, 3 All-Star selections with a mortal lock of another one on the way coming this year to tie LeBron's 4, and 3 All-NBA First Teams. And finally, as for Luka's team success, he's made it to the playoffs 3 times out of his 4 opportunities, with his 5th year chance at reaching the postseason currently hanging in the balance. His highest round reach was the Western Conference Finals just last year, although he was not able to reach the championship so far. However, who knows what this year has in store for Luka. It may be an MVP, just another All-NBA First Team selection, which he's made routine already in his young career, or even reach, and dare I say, win the finals. Like I said, I believe the Mavs' overdependence on Luka will be their downfall, but it wouldn't be the first time I've been wrong. Regardless, enough of the procrastination. Who's the choice? Who has had the better 5-year start to a career? Does Luka really project out to be a potential GOAT of a generation? Well, not to be that guy, but I think the answer for who has the edge between the two 5 years in is still LeBron James. His numbers might be slightly worse, and he's brought his squad to the postseason 1 less time, but I think I'll take the finals appearance, 27, 7, and 7 stat line, scoring champ title, All-Star Game MVP, 2 All-NBA First Teams, and the 391 games over Luka's start thus far. Now, like I said, a lot can change if we revisit this conversation in 1 year's time, but as of now, it's still LeBron to me, as I'm sure most of you expected. That being said, that doesn't change the fact that it's still a conversation to be had. It's not cut and dry. It still doesn't take away from the fact that Luka has had an unthinkable start to a Hall of Fame caliber career that could see him eclipse records, win championships, and cement his legacy by the time he reaches LeBron's current age. But he will have to prove he can stand the test of time and all the scrutiny and pressure that comes along with it, just as LeBron did. That's my thoughts on this very cherry-picked comparison, but what do you guys think? I often find myself having these very off-the-wall ideas for videos, so I have no idea if my extremely small, although awesome, audience will be receptive to this concept, but hey, I enjoyed making the video, and as long as I'm creating on here, I'll continue to lean into my passions, ideas, and creativity. So no matter what happens, this video is a W in my book. But back to the topic at hand. What are your thoughts? Maybe after hearing all the evidence, you believe Luka has a better case than LeBron did in his first 5 years. It's hard to remove LeBron's current legacy from this comparison, but if you can, you'll truly see how similar these two players are. It was shocking for me, honestly, but you can come to the same conclusion I did and know deep down, it'll be a long time before another player can eclipse what LeBron achieved on the court in such a small amount of time, let alone across the span of a 20-year career. No matter what you think, let me know down below, and also don't forget to like and subscribe, as you know it helps me grow my channel. Anyways, this video was made by Underdog. Peace!